Hello, everyone. My name is Cassandra Rufo, and this is my senior capstone proposal presentation, and it is titled Inclusivity Beyond Pink Pixels. So, a little bit about me. I graduated from Lalua High School, then I went straight to UH West Oahu, and I am now a senior. My major is in creative media, and my concentration is in video game design and development. As for my executive summary, I'll be talking about my thesis statement, my objective/rationale of the research conducted, and plans for senior capstone project. And lastly, I'll be talking about significance of my proposed project. As for my thesis statement, it is Girls Game highlights the lack of inclusive design in video game history by exposing how marketing, stereotypes, and limited representation marginalize female players and restricting their gaming experience. So, the objective of this research is to explain how and why female players were historically marginalized in video game culture. By looking at past marketing strategies, stereotypical girls' games, and the limited representation of women in both game characters and development teams, my research shows how the industry created a very narrow idea of who games were meant for. And as for why this research is important, because girls' games were historically limited and stereotype driven. As a kid, I played these games without realizing how little representation they offered. Looking back now, it's clear that girls were given narrow themes like fashion and caretaking, while boys' game focused on adventure and action. This unequal landscape shows why inclusive and representative game design is needed today. As for my senior capstone plans, I'll plan to make a 2D game inspired by Pink Girls games, but with more diverse characters. And I'll also be creating a game design document that will explain the full game concept, characters, story ideas, and how I redesigned the Pink game style to be more inclusive. And with that, I can use what I've learned to challenge those old ideas and show what a more modern girls game could look like today. And moving on to my significance. So my first significance reveals how gender bias in early video game marketing shaped decades of game design. It also demonstrates how limited representation affected both the types of games available to girls and the way they were encouraged to play. As for future implications, it encourages designers to adopt more inclusive practices and create games that reflect a wider range of identities and experiences. It also empowers young female players by showing that games can be made for them without relying on outdated stereotypes, ultimately contributing to a more diverse and welcoming gaming community. As for my second significance, inclusivity can reshape the experience of players who were left out of earlier Pink games. By creating characters with diverse backgrounds, identities, and body types, the game shows that girls are not a single, uniform audience. Inclusivity allows more players to see themselves represented in positive, meaningful roles. And for the future implication, if studios begin prioritizing inclusivity the way this project does, we may see Girls Game move beyond narrow stereotypes and instead embrace a wider range of stories, character types, and identities. And moving on with my data, this shows a pie chart of gender representation breakdown in video games from 2012 through 2022. It analyzed 637 characters from 64 games across multiple genres. So about 62% were male characters, and about 32% were female characters, and non-binary and custom characters were a very small percentage. So this indicates strong gender imbalance across the decade. And moving on with my second data, this is a table about best-selling and most played games from Spain in 2023. So the total character analyzed in the audiovisual content of video games were 313. And so the total of that were 31.63% were female and 68.37% were male. So this means only 4 women appear for every 100 men. And moving on to the target audience for this project is for game developers who want a better understanding how female players are represented in games and how inclusive design can improve the gaming experience. And for the proposed solution to the lack of inclusive design is to create a modern girls game that reimagines classic Pink game themes through diverse characters. This project shows how the genre can evolve beyond stereotypes while being fun. As for my preparation slash process, for my pre-production, I'll be researching, outlining the game concept, and working on character development. As for my mood boards and art style for my game. And in my production, I'll be building a game in a game engine. I don't know yet, but I'll probably figure out during winter break. And during that time, I'll also develop mechanics and the interactions and create art assets as well as the UI elements. As for my post-production, I'll be playtesting, refining the design, and preparing final documentation and reflection. As for my primary deliverable, it is a 2D pink game remake that incorporates classic themes such as makeup, fashion, character customization, and friendship, but redesigned with inclusive and culturally diverse representation. As for my second deliverable, I'll produce a game design document that expands on a full version of the game. Thank you. Any questions?